Live.
We are
Excelente,
live.
excelente. We are live. Episode 7 of the Neuro Bros Show. Hola. Russ, how are
Hey,
you?
man. Okay.
So for people joining us, sometime I'll figure out how to do this in a manner that is higher quality, but Russ did something extremely cool. We're going to play you a 28-second Neuro Bros Show theme song right now with my brother from another mother rapping. Are you ready, folks? Here it is.
I'm not.
We're Neuro Bros. We got a show. We like to share what we know to help you move and be more stable. Got a question? Put it on the table. Let's have some fun and keep on learning so we can keep the fire burning. So enjoy the show. Take it in. We thank you all for joining in.
I don't think that'll be up for a Grammy anytime
That
soon.
is so cool. We're going to have to play it a couple more times throughout. Yeah, that's great, man. We have a theme song now from Brother Russ. So I'm going to monitor the feed here and see what's going on now. Well, this is the first day I have more energy than I've had in a long time. And man, it feels good because I have not had any energy recently. It's been horrible. I'm going to turn my volume down here. Hello, Laura is with us. Excelente. Okay. Yeah, man, it feels really good to feel a lot better. Holy crap, man. It was just like I started to feel better and better, and then boom, crash. Better, boom, crash. This is like the 5th day. I mean, Friday was tough in the morning. Then I had done some weird food stuff Saturday. I think I figured it all out. But bottom line is it's March 1st already. I'm kind of glad it is though too, because March is a nice month. We have like a month of hope now for warmer weather next month, and maybe even this month. You never know. I'm
Birthday
excited.
month for me and my wife too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Wait, you're on 6, 7?
Tomorrow is mine, and my wife's is on the 15th.
No way. Well, happy birthday in advance, Neuro Bro.
I'm officially a senior citizen too. 65 tomorrow. Tell me, does this spell senior citizen? Come on, I'm not taking this old crap lying down.
No way, man. No freaking way. Man, you know, AARP started sending me their magazine when I was 50.
Yeah, I know.
I was actually pissed, and I wouldn't even use the card for discounts because I didn't want to. Well, I will now though. But anyways, you know, whatever. Might as well save money where you can. So Jane is with us. Hola. Laura and Jane both speak English and Spanish fluently. And I speak a little Spanish, but not total. Necesito practicar mi español todos los días. Yeah, man. So I know you got some tricks up your sleeve today. I really like what we were talking about before we started, and you should just intervene with that. Before you do, if you don't mind, I want to do a little review today. Jane is right. You do not look your age, Russ.
I don't act it either, I hope. That's been the case for a long time.
Yeah, so just kind of laying out, let's say, what we'll talk about today. Do you want to just give a little bullet point headline of what you're going to talk about in a few minutes?
The thought I had before that I was telling you about this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, this came out of something that happened with me. I've been going through some hip arthritis pain, which I've actually had for about a year now. I went and saw the doctor last year, the same orthopedist who I had a hip operation already on my right hip. So I have had it under control for a while, but now I'm getting a flare up that's been hard to control, and no matter what, I'm going to need an operation. But the pain has been really strong. So the things that came to mind were about sticking to a routine and journaling what you do, A lot of those things that you do could help you keep you out of trouble. Because if you make changes, you don't stick with your routine, and you make changes, you don't keep track of them, then it's hard to sometimes figure out what caused your problem. It could have been something you changed. So that's kind of like it in a nutshell. I could go over it in a little bit more, detail, but I found out there were like a couple of things, and maybe it was just because I was in pain and I didn't feel like bending over, but there were a couple of stretches and certain things I had in my daily routine that I just stopped doing. Because I guess a lot of you know what it's like. Sometimes when you're in pain, you just don't feel like moving a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes movement is what is helping you stay out of pain. So you have to realize that.
Exactly. Yeah, good. So definitely, let's go over that in a little bit. So I'll jump in here with some thoughts. First of all, there are a few things I like to say at the beginning of every episode. We have episodes, dude. Okay, so if anyone didn't hear yet, I just have to play this one more time.
You want me to do it on my?
Yes, sure. The Neuro Bros Show theme song.
It doesn't quite have the 4 bars, but I cut it short here. Can you hear it?
Oh yeah.
We're Neuro Bros, we got a show. We like to share what we know to help you move and be more stable. Got a question, put it on the table. Let's have some fun and keep on learning so we can keep the fire burning. So enjoy the show, take it in, and we thank you all for joining in.
That is epic, man. That is hashtag epic. I love it, man. Seriously. It's just, and you do have exactly 4 bars in the front, just so you know. I'm totally OCD about that kind of stuff, because I was a drummer, and I probably still am, really, in my mind. And it's like, if it was 3.5 bars or 3 bars, or 3.5 bars would really be awkward, but you did 4 bars. I'll never forget, there's a CD. Jan. Hey, Jan, in Detroit. Just thinking about you this morning. So I was training a gentleman from Detroit who lives here on Zoom. We were saying, what gyms are there? And I said, well, there's Powerhouse, but don't go there. When you go home, see if you can work out with Jan. So maybe you might get a call. We'll talk. So I did a CD years ago. This is like 1999 with a horn band, really funky, great horn band called Classified. We did all the Tower of Power, Chicago, Earth, Wind and Fire, and whatever. And it was the first time we recorded it live at a gig. And actually, the performance was awful that night. So, of course, with digital recording now, it wasn't reel to reel. I thought it'd be tape. I'd never seen digital before. 1999, this guy comes in, and Bobby Yakovina, the recording guy, the producer, the whatever, he comes in and he's got, basically what happened is some of the songs, there's all these different, and the horn section that night was really off. The bass player and I felt like we were in the pocket, because we always were. He and I are like that. So bottom line is, none of us were playing perfect. In one of the songs they edited, it's like, I can't remember. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, what a night. They chopped it up and put a 3.5 bar intro.
Huh.
That is wrong. That's an
so?
intro gone wrong, man. That'll make you fall on the dance floor, but the rest of it's okay. So and they can fix anything in the mix too, and it actually sounded good at the end. So okay, well, here's what I want to talk about real quick. A few things. This is episode 7. I wanted to just do my usual little disclaimer. Anything we talk about is meant to help you, not to replace medications, medical care, neurology care, whatever the case may be. It's meant to complement those things. All right. Everyone's responsible for your own health. We can't guarantee any outcomes for anybody. And I don't say that because we don't expect outcomes, but can't guarantee something for everybody or anything in particular. What I can guarantee, though, is if you listen and learn and try things, you will likely experience some type of improvements, benefits, and movement and whatever. We also teach what we know. A lot of what we know is based on research, but not everything, because sometimes you got to get out of the box and be your own researcher, just like Russ is his own test lab. He can tell you about that later. I think we're all our own test labs, though, or we should be. So there's my disclaimer. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit more about neuroplasticity, but very, very, very briefly. If you go back to episode 1, you will find the complete neuroplasticity lecture with slides. Okay, so what is neuroplasticity? It's the brain's ability to adapt itself to change as needed, to change itself as needed. It can do this. All right, when you learn something new, you're firing new synaptical firing patterns they're happening, which help these neurons to fire together, and then they eventually wire together, and then bingo, you just learned something new, and it probably is going to stay with you, long time, maybe forever. But the more you use it, the better you get at it, just like anything in life. But as when we're younger, we're more neuroplastic. Under the age of 25, now this is all a generally speaking, a generalization. Under age 25 or under, that's why college is really good to get done. I wish I'd done college before. I'm a better student now, but if I disciplined myself 40 years ago, I would have, whatever. So the younger, the better for neuroplasticity. Mere exposure to something like a language, anything. The brain is just going to soak it in. I'm sure we all know people who speak a couple of languages fluently with no accent almost, or maybe none. A couple of ladies in Mexico, I couldn't believe they were from Mexico, even they looked like they're probably from Mexico, but just because of, culturally, whatever. And they speak English with no accent. I'm like, are you from Mexico? Oh, yeah. How can you speak English so well with no accent? Oh, it was in our household. Well, there you go. I mean, so it's kind of interesting. It's cool. As we get older, though, neuroplasticity, it changes. It's a 2-step process. And here's what I want you to think about today. Or anytime you're learning something or listening, hyper focus, because over the age of 25, and that would be me and many of us, hyper focus, pay attention. Now, for this, if you really want to gain it all, you might need to go back and watch, because we'll probably go over a lot of stuff. We always do. For me, it's hard to focus, hyper focus, for more than a few minutes on a good day. Then I take a break for a couple of minutes, and then hyper focus for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever. Then whatever, short bouts of learning, hyper focus. Try not to let distractions take you away from that focused, right? That focus. And then sleep is the other thing. So there are chemicals that are released that mark the neurons that are firing when you're hyper focusing. They mark them for strengthening. Strengthening happens during sleep. So neuroplasticity over the age 25 is a 2-step process. Hyperfocus, sleep. All right, so hyperfocus. Focus today. If you missed anything we said, could you space out like I do? For many reasons. We all have those different abilities that are able to focus, depending upon a lot of different things. But bottom line is, go back and watch. It'll be up here. Watch it over and over. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about, 2 things real quick. This is kind of interesting because I think, are we going to do a little corrective exercise today, Russ?
Yeah, I think we didn't do that much last time. So I wish we said we were going to start from the feet up.
Yeah.
So
We'll
I think
do
what
this
we
soon.
could do is eventually I want to get to the point where we've introduced all those main concepts, the inhibition and the lengthening and activation and stuff. Once we get through those comments, then maybe we could apply, like, weave in corrective exercise into like a discussion on rigidity or, things like that. Or
okay, good. So when we talk about corrective exercise, hear me out on this, folks. Corrective exercise is when you're basically going through these things where you're taking the movement compensation patterns you developed over the years, maybe knees bow in, feet turn out, forward posture, anterior pelvic tilt, whatever. We all have something, but there are muscles on one side of a joint that are tighter. So we want to inhibit those, release, and then maybe do a self-administered joint mobilization, maybe, but also fire up the muscles that are underactive on the other side to create better length tension relationships around the joint. Now, this is considered by some entities to be the new warm-up. I will argue and say that it can be part of a warm-up, and that the old warm-up of getting on a treadmill, walking fast for 5 minutes, while it's said that that's irrelevant now, I will argue that it's not irrelevant, and it's maybe equally as important as corrective exercise. Where did I hear this? 2 places, Stanford and Harvard, my 2 go-tos for research. All right, so why is a 5-minute walk on a treadmill beneficial, or anything for 5 minutes, just kind of running in place or walking fast on a track or anything? Well, it's because, remember though, corrective exercise is not bunk. It's highly relevant. Okay, but it's not the only thing. That's what I want to say, is that may be considered by NASM and some others to be the new warm-up, and that walking fast is irrelevant. Sorry, NASM, I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but seem to have tension in our relationship anyway, so it's okay. I still love everybody there. And so the bottom line is that your body temperature increases when you exercise. Here's an example. I'll be going over to place some Manlius. I have to show my negative COVID test result to work with this couple who I train over there in the independent living or assisted living facility. I can't remember what they call it, but I go over there and I train them in their apartment. But I have to do that. They take my oxygen, my O2, heartbeat, whatever. And they also take my temperature. I'm always like 97.2 to 97.4, even in the summer when it was hot. Okay. I run cool. When I get up to 98.6, I feel like I have a fever. And when I had a fever one day, December 17th of 99.5, I really felt like I have a fever, even though it's not even 1 degree over the quote norm, is 2 point something degrees over my norm, which made me really feel crappy. So know that as you go through the day too, in the afternoon, late morning, afternoon, late afternoon, as long as you're moving around, even if you're not moving around, but especially if you're moving around and not even exercise, just moving, doing stuff, your body temperature will generally increase. Okay, well, that's actually really good. That's very good for us, especially if we're going to exercise. A warm body is going to do a little bit better than a cold body. Well, you take that into consideration, and then also add in some of these corrective exercises, which are highly relevant. But I just want you to know it's not the only way. And sometimes, people don't. I was talking with Allison yesterday. I hadn't talked with her in months. We were talking about how I don't know about your compliance with corrective exercise, Russ, with your clients, but I have a horrible compliance. Maybe it's because I'm not stern enough, but they hate it. And I try to point out all the values in it, and like, no. So, I probably need help in coaching people there, but there is relevance to it. But if they don't want to do it, at least we can have them do something to kind of warm up the body a little bit. So the old warm up isn't moot, and it's not irrelevant. All right. It actually is relevant. And I just wanted to share that. Now, if you don't like doing that on a treadmill before your workout, don't do it. But if you do like it, you're not going to hurt yourself. I guess I just wanted to say this. I have a little bit of a porky attitude today too, because I feel so good. I'm like, huh. Sometimes I get porky, man. I'm not always the nicest person in the world. I know some people think I'm really nice. Well, you don't know me. So the other thing I want to talk about is COVID, just real quick. I'm feeling really good now. I'm kind of glad I went through the experience just so I can relate to some others. I know the one thing that scared me the most, well, 2 things. I know I was acting out my dreams because I wake myself up like kicking myself or hitting the headboard behind me. And that was when you're acting out your dreams, it's not good. First of all, you're not supposed to do that because there's a lot of research behind that as to what, people getting Parkinson's actually is what they usually end up with. And that comes from Dr. Dale Bredesen that takes at USC, I think, or UCLA, and it comes from Toronto, Dr. Alfonso Fasano, Dr. Tony Lang, especially his boss, who's one of the top dogs in the neurology world. And the involuntary movements I would have, like, and I'd be, or just the hands would go, or one side, or, I'd just be like, these shivers. It's almost like when I would, the shiver would be almost like when I missed a dose of Effexor a couple of days in a row because I ran out and forgot to get it refilled. That's a bad thing. It's like brain buzzes. So those have diminished a lot. Had some yesterday, but not much. And the reason I say I'm glad I went through that, and I won't dwell on this much, so I want to get moving here, is that maybe it gave me a tiny, 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 tiny look through the window of what it's like to have involuntary movements and lack of control. And I'm talking to minuscule, but still. So the other thing too, according to Bredesen and other research that's coming out now, and this is new. I mean, COVID is new. It's only been around like a year, and we don't have much data, certainly no long-term data, but there are more cases of neurological disorders post-COVID. That's a fact. I don't have numbers. I can't give you numbers. But what I can say is try not to get COVID. Get your vaccine. If you're an anti-vaxxer, well, I'm sorry you are, and I'm not judging you. I understand. However, oh, thanks, Jan. Yeah, it's just, when you go to Europe and you see what they learn over there, I mean, they come to the plate. These trainers come to the table with an arsenal of knowledge that nobody here can compare to based on just the initial baseline training and any certification in this country. And there's some decent certifications, but the ones who do the best, and I completely just took a tangent, sorry, but I wanted to respond to this, is that the people who do the best could have the crappiest certification. I mean, there's some, I won't say names because I don't want to make enemies. There's some really crappy certifications. And I know a couple of trainers who have probably the worst ones in the world, and they're some of the best trainers because they keep learning. That's the ticket. And they're learning good stuff. I know people with some of the best certifications who are crappy trainers because they don't really care. They don't want to keep learning. They think they know everything. Gosh, I'm porky today, but it feels kind of fun to have an edge. So back to COVID is mask up, be safe, don't get COVID, get your vaccine. And if you think you're going to be tracked by an RFID chip in your vaccine, it's not in there, okay? My son's a doctor. He's seen what's in the vaccine. He took his vaccine. Long term, 60 years down the road, it could be a little DNA change in you. I'm 60 this year. I guess I'm not going to worry about it. But if you think there's an RFID thing in there, it's going to track everything you do. Guess what happened, folks? The moment you got one of these little babies here, you're tracked. You gave it up. That's Dr. Luigi Bacuto and his Bacuto and his research on that's pretty interesting. So I think maybe I should turn it over to you, Russ, because I'm starting to be kind of a jerk. No, I'm passionate about this because I want people to be safe. I mask up. You can't guarantee you're not going to get COVID, but we're on the verge now of like getting back to semi-normal within a year, I'd say, maybe less, right? The numbers are going down on COVID cases. People getting the vaccine, they're coming in. Well, Tammy's working down there, giving shots, and people coming in crying because they get to see their kids and their grandkids again for the first time in a year. A lot of people are lonely, so mask up, be safe, don't get COVID, because of the side effects afterwards. We don't know what they could be, but it might not be real good, especially if you end up with some neurological disorder. And I'm not saying it's the scariest, it's what we know at this point. And with that said, I'm all done talking about my stuff. Russ, what's happening in your world?
Well, you want me to go through my stream of consciousness now?
Please do.
You
Oh,
want to cover a hard topic?
well, I had notes.
No, I actually had some thoughts. I've been dealing with some hip pain for quite a while, actually. I had a hip operation on my right hip in 2017. And it was my left hip started bothering me last year, about a year ago. I went to the orthopedist, and he gave me a cortisone shot, helped for a little while. And then I found a good exercise routine that brought my pain level pretty far down. And every now and then I go a week or two with like almost no pain. And then I'd have a day or two where it would flare up or whatever. But now recently I've had some like real sharp pains, and I'm saying to myself now, am I waiting too long to get the operation? I'm definitely going to need the operation on that hip.
Mhm.
But the whole experience made me think about something this morning, because this morning I got up, and, I always go through certain stretches during the day and in the morning and everything. And I realized that sometimes I guess it's the pain that throws you off or whatever, but you get thrown out of your routine. And I hadn't been doing one of my go-to stretches, which is the triangle pose in yoga. I like
Yeah.
that because
Is that like the tree pose,
um,
or is that a different one?
triangle is where you're like this.
Oh, I don't know that one. Cool.
And so the twisting up and looking up like this, it gets your muscle, the QL, quadratus lumborum, which attaches to your pelvis.
Mhm.
It stretches your hip area a little bit, your torso. And I hadn't been doing that. And I just did that this morning, and I was having pain, and just after doing the stretch, the pain would diminish considerably. And I'm like saying to myself, what a dope, I should have been doing that stretch all along. And I really feel that muscle, especially when I do it with my left foot forward and I'm twisting to the right. I really feel that muscle, the tightness in that muscle. So I really need that stretch. And like I said, it attaches to the pelvis, so it's been over tight. So it's probably been pulling up on my pelvis, which is part of the hip complex. So I'm hoping that's going to help. But then it made me think of a whole string of things that are important that I just wanted to share. So one of them is keeping track of your activity. I keep a journal, or like a rough journal, which means like I don't necessarily put an entry in it every day. If I feel like something major hasn't changed and I'm in a real routine, I don't necessarily have to put down if I'm doing this. If I know I'm doing the same thing every day, but I make sure at least I journal like changes. I'm pretty good about journaling changes or things that have happened as far as my condition goes and things like that. I hadn't been so great on that recently.
Mhm.
And the other thing related to that is through that whole process of reviewing your journal, periodically reviewing your journal and your state of being, you'll add, remove, reprioritize activities as needed, and supplementation and nutrition and all those things that you do. If you stay on top of it, you'll be modifying things, and you'll kind of be keeping track of what you're doing. So also tied to that, I was just talking about doing the same thing every day. The other thing that's important is sticking to your go-to and must-do activities. You should have really a list. Sometimes, or a lot of times, people have a list of those activities that they know make them
Mhm.
feel better. I have one particular little leg strengthening routine that I know always makes my hip feel better, so I try to stay to that. And I was doing that, and I'm still having some pain. And like I said, that one stretch and a few others, I think I've been, because I've been leaving them out. That's the reason why I'm having more pain. So hopefully pain will diminish even more.
Can I interject real quick?
Mhm.
Thank you. A lot of people, I was in this category, I don't know, till I started. Well, actually, I still go through this. Sorry, I got a little. Okay, there. It's the seltzer water. So, sometimes I look at things like it's a big deal, and I overcomplicate things in my mind. Like, I got to work out. I got to do 20 exercises. But it's you actually don't have to do that. But doing something is the most important thing. And like you say, make a list of things you like to do then you're more likely to do them. Because I know I can tell you right now, I've joined gyms thinking because I joined, I'm going to want to go. That did not happen. I went because I thought I'd like it after I went a few times. Nah, I'd rather not go. I'd rather do other stuff. But if a gym's your thing, I mean, go. You know, free weights is your thing. Go do it. But you have to do things we like to do, and it doesn't need to be complicated. But to what Russ is speaking about too, sometimes I'll let you take over here, Russ. But you, doing stuff like getting moving a lot of times can help to reduce pain. But also, if you have pain, it might be best if you did some stuff for that pain that would help you. And you know, maybe it's 5 minutes of unpleasantness and you don't like it, but it might make for a way better day. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that leads into my subsequent thoughts, after the journaling and doing the activity, choosing the activity, your monthly activities and everything. And then one thing you said about just moving, there's doing a workout and there's training. I think there's a difference between workout and training. To me, like a lot of times workout just means like a set of exercises. If it's strengthening, a set of strengthening exercises, and you have a certain goal, and it's kind of based on just repetitions and resistance and all those parameters that go into strength training. But I think of just the word training in general is just me having like training towards some more global kind of goal, moving better, being able to perform some sort of a sport or something I like to do better, or just function in daily life better. And then sometimes I'll go through a day and I won't have any particular workout or anything scheduled, but I'll just kind of go with the flow and do what I enjoy, and that makes it a lot more fun. But also with the goal in mind that I try to stay focused though on improving my Parkinson symptoms as well. But doesn't necessarily have to be like a strict workout. Just get moving, do something you enjoy, and if you know the parameters of what makes a good routine to effectively combat symptoms, you'll include a lot of those things, moving in different directions and challenging things and stuff like that.
If you tie it in with COVID, just a thought. When I got done interviewing John Rady last April or whenever it was, he's the guy who's for anyone who doesn't know, he's a Harvard Medical School professor. He's an MD, best-selling author. As soon as we got off the interview, he emailed me this thing, and this is early on COVID, and then there's more that's come out, but just walking. Now, not just moseying, walking with intention, maybe walking kind of fast. It can be the body was designed to move. We're designed to move. That in and of itself can very much help to fight off COVID. And then if you get COVID or the flu or anything, your symptoms are likely to be less severe, or you're dealing with it probably less severe. So, yeah, I mean, we know that exercise is good for the immune system, but just get out and move. Like you say, just get moving.
Mm-hmm. And, we started discussing pain and pain, the category of pain and movement problems. It's not all what it seems sometimes. One of the reactions people have to pain, which is understandable, is they just want to rest and they don't want to move, and that could actually be the worst thing for you. Some amount of rest is good to bring down, kind of calm down, the irritation that you might have in a joint or something like that. But some type of movement is always good, and we're all capable. Just about everyone is capable of doing some sort of movement. For instance, if you, even if you have like shoulder problems, just about, almost just about everybody could do something like this. You put your arm on a table and just like rotate your arm a little lightly like this. The therapists tell you not to, lift up like that or do any overhead, but you could just hang your arm down. Probably, some people would probably just let their arm hang down and let the joint just kind of dangle and rotate slightly or swing slightly. There's probably some, even when you're in pain, there's probably some type of movement that could help get you out of pain. And the other thing is that the source of the pain or your movement dysfunction is usually a lot of times is not in the area where you feel it. And it not only that, I'm talking about like musculoskeletal pain, that points to like a particular area, a joint area or a muscle or whatever. But your pain problem could come from stress, could come from just general inflammation, could even come from cognitive problems that you're having. Or at least movement dysfunction could come from, cognitive problems. You can't concentrate, so that throws off your movement. Your lymphatic system, which is responsible for clearing out toxins and reducing inflammation. If you're, inflamed there, you could have edema and then it could, swelling could affect your muscles, which in turn, if one muscle gets tight in one area, your fascia is getting stretched out and irritated. And, so pain could be a complicated thing. So if you find that you're doing the same thing for pain over and over again, and it keeps coming back, then one thing, you should probably question what you're doing. One common area of tightness that people have, for instance, is in hamstrings, right? So what do people do when they have? Oh, I always have tight hamstrings. I'm always stretching my hamstrings. Well, if you're always stretching your hamstrings and they're always getting tight, is the stretching the right thing? Stretching the hamstring the right thing to do? I would argue that it isn't. The reason it's getting re-tight is because your body is reacting to something that's imbalanced somewhere else.
The hamstrings are funny things, anyways.
Yeah.
So going back to the thing about cognitive problems, Stu Gillespie, when we were in Austin, where we met Laura 2 years ago in May, we had a great team there. Ruben's with us. We had a great group of people. Remember him talking about it's possible to have not only brain inflammation, but leaky brain syndrome, much like leaky gut. And that inflammation is like, it's crazy. I just tried to do this keto thing because I just wanted to jumpstart burning off. I so official admission, I weighed 231.2 pounds. This is no good. 4 years ago, I weighed 205. I was flying around. I was flying like, I don't mean in planes. I was moving. I felt great. And, they got up in the two teens and it's sort of okay there. I went from 218 in December to 231. So I jumped. And so this is my public commitment admission of during COVID, I didn't move much because I had so much fatigue, but I did not lose my appetite and I ate too much. So I'm going to do anything I'm going to do what it takes to get this off. But I'm coming back around the diet, inflammation. My son's been doing keto. He does really well on it. He'll go on and off of it. I've tried numerous times. I don't handle it well. I'm miserable. And it turns out, apparently I do have more of a issue with dairy than I realized. So my inflammation has been very, very high, and I'm done with that. So the place where I've always done the best is if I go on is $6 one-time purchase. At least it used to be $6. Is an app. If you look at the one on the bottom in the middle, it's IF. It's not focused. IF tracker. This one here, IF tracker. Put in your food, bring it up, and it's going to tell you where it falls on the inflammation index. And if it's 0 or less, negative, it's anti-inflammatory. And I've learned a lot about this, so I kind of know now. But there are foods that I used to think were okay, but they're inflammatory. I have no idea. So I'm back to this now, and I'm not really regulating, eating anything else or any other diet. I don't even like the word diet, but the reason I'm saying that is this inflammation That's the cause of disease and pain many times. And one of the ways to help reduce inflammation is put anti-inflammatory stuff in our bodies. We eat the inflammation foods. We get inflammation, especially in the gut, the bowel. And of course, that I could go we could do a whole episode on just the problems of inflammation related to the brain over time, and it's not good. So I like the idea of where you're going with this. So keep going, Russ.
Yeah, so in relation to pain too, I was talking about, some movement is good. Another area that another thing that people do to address pain is using assistive devices and and braces and things like that. I would say my advice on that, what I would say is use those to the extent where it's keeping you safe and keeping you out of pain, but you want to use them, you want to use those kind of things minimally, because you're kind of disabling function when you're using, for instance, if you're using a brace on your on your knee or
Yeah.
or wherever it might be, you're immobilizing muscles. So as soon as you could get the movement and the full range of motion, you using all your muscles naturally without using the brace, the better. So use it on and off. Obviously, if you have extreme neck pain and you go on a 6-hour flight, and you won't be able to tolerate it without putting on like a brace or something like that. And of course, you want to do that, but you want to kind of look for the movement things also with the therapies. They're going to help you to use those things where you'll be limiting your range of motion and possibly weakening muscles, and in the long run, making things worse. The same thing for using walkers, canes, and walking poles. Use them to the extent where they help you move better if you have dysfunctional movement, but periodically you want to try going to the least level of assistance, so you're using your muscles and your systems as they should naturally be used, so you don't lose that skill.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's also a tendency to treat the area where you're feeling the pain or discomfort or movement, and sometimes it's not in that area at all. Sometimes it's in the spot in the remote, a remote spot from where you're actually feeling the pain in the body, or as I mentioned before, it could be in some other system where you're just having general inflammation, or you could even be having visual problems. So I think we talked about that a little bit in one of the previous episodes, where your lack of muscle control in your eyes could affect neck pain.
Yeah.
So if
amazing.
you exercise your eyes, you actually might help reduce neck pain. And we went over a few of those exercises, like moving your head to the side, and as you're moving, you let your eyes go first as far as they can go. So let your eyes take the lead. So you're exercising your eyes to move as far as possible. This way, when you're in a situation where you have to turn and look, your eyes are doing a lot of the work. And if they're not, and you have limited, field of view, then your neck will start compensating, and when you start overusing it, that's where the pain comes in. So
that's
let's
a
throw
good
in
analogy.
I'll throw in an exercise, a new one that I learned recently.
Sure.
This was from Ariane Missimer. She's a physical therapist in Pennsylvania. She's very sharp. I've seen her at
she's
couple
amazing.
of seminars.
She's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, she presented at the Barefoot Summit that we were at together.
She was on. I met her through Emily in the very beginning, like 7 years ago. And she was on. Not that it matters, but she was on American Ninja Warrior 2-3 years ago.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right.
And she had just gotten done with some major chemotherapy treatments and loss of her hair, everything. Came out, and a few months later, bam, she's on the show on TV. It was really cool. She's an amazing doctor, amazing educator too. Laura's saying the pain can come from different emotions. Absolutely.
I was just getting a book. So this is the book.
Oh, that's a great book. Yeah.
That she referred to this Stanley Rosenberg when she was showing demonstrating an exercise. So I asked her about it. And it's about assessing the healing power of the vagus nerve. So I just got it and we'll just start reading it. So that's what this exercise is from. So this is it involves eye movement and it's for your neck. So those of you who are having neck pain, maybe you'll feel some relief right after doing this. So you're gonna clasp your hands, put them behind your neck. You're gonna bend your upper body like this. And then your eyes are gonna look up this way. 30 seconds each side. You can do this. Your head is looking straight ahead still. You don't turn your head, just turn your eyes, look up.
Yeah, that's a good one, Russ.
And the other side.
I have that book on audio too. I actually bought it and I read it, but I'm going to read it again. It's been a while.
Okay.
Yeah, that feels pretty good, even seated.
Yeah, and if you bring your arms back, it gets a little bit up here. Your shoulder blade area.
It's all you now, Russ. I'm done. I'm going to keep doing this. We could bounce around, cover parts of the body and concepts in corrective exercise. I was thinking of covering active, isolated stretching. Sure.
Because and rigidity. I think that that is the best type. I believe is the best type of stretch for rigidity, and we'll get into what that is. There's three main types of stretching, at least that we learned at NASM: static stretching, and then there's active, isolated stretching, and dynamic stretching. So static stretching is just when you go into a stretch and you just hold it in the one spot and you try to maybe move it a little bit more, but you're just basically holding the stretch in one spot without any movement. And then let me just skip to the end one. Dynamic stretching is basically just going through a full range of motion. So a dynamic stretch, I mean, it could really be just similar to like warm-up exercise or calisthenic exercises, but one is like a hip swing. That's a dynamic stretch where you're just swinging your hip.
Yeah, that's a real good one. You know, one of the things I found was really good for me pre and post hip operation was also a lateral movement where you're swinging the leg in front of you to each side and then, back and forth too. That it's very good.
But even like little squats could be considered a dynamic stretch. Anything that moves joints and through a range of motion. So that's what a dynamic stretch is. And the normal theory is that when you go from the first one that I said, static stretching, up to continuing up to dynamic stretching, is that the tighter you are, you should use like static stretches first, then a little less so the active isolated stretching, which I haven't described yet. And then the dynamic stretching, since you have to like go through like a whole range of motion, if you're going to do that and you're really tight, you have to maybe limit your range of motion because it could be dangerous. If you like swinging your legs really hard and you don't have good range of motion, you're going to rip a muscle. So they could be more advanced unless you keep the range of motion down. So now let me get to the active isolated stretching, which kind of falls in between the two. So the dynamic, you're constantly moving. The static, you're just holding the stretch for like 30 seconds. With active isolated stretching is, and I'm going to do a torso rotation. I'm just reaching back like this. Is where you go into the stretch and you just hold it for a couple of seconds, and then you come out of the stretch, and then you do it again, and you try to move a little further. And why that works well is, and I think it works well for rigidity, where you're in this extreme state of like really real tightness, is because you go into the stretch and your muscles have a reaction when you push into the stretch, they actually have, even though you're stretching, which is supposed to lengthen the muscle, the muscles have this reaction to actually tighten up. And you kind of trick the body by when you do the release, your body says, okay, I'm not being forced into that situation. It's acting like that tightening is kind of acting like a protective mechanism. You're going back and you're stretching hard, and your body senses that. So that's why it tightens up. So then when you go out of it, it relaxes, and then you go back into it and you're in that relaxed state, and then you could go a little further. And that's why I think it works well for rigidity, because you're so tight. If you try to just go into that and hold it and you try to keep moving and moving, it's like you're up against a brick wall. So
and rigidity too is very common for people who have Parkinson's, who live with Parkinson's, and other movement disorders as well, but also just our general population lifestyles. And this is not a judgment. I'm just saying, generally speaking, we're not moving as much as we used to. I'm not moving as much as I should or used to, but I'm going to. Today, it's March 1st, Walking My Way to Health. If you didn't find that group on Facebook, join us there. I posted all earlier on my wall to a live video. Just click and join. We're just here to support each other. But specifically with rigidity being I don't know why they say featured, but it's actually used in the medical world as a featured motor symptom, oftentimes in Parkinson's. It's just exacerbates, let me say that word wrong, generalized stiffness anyway. So it's like a double whammy.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you live with Parkinson's, so you would know how you react to this.
Yeah, everybody, that's a good point.
That's actually my favorite too. That's my favorite form of stretching too. I just feel I do the best with that.
Yeah, and you could vary it. I mean, they say like hold it for like a couple of seconds, but with a torso stretch, what I do is say I'm going to do 6 total on each, on each side. For each number, that's the amount of time I like hold the stretch. So I go on number 1, I just go back, hold for 1, and then 1, and then when I get up to 2, I'm going to go 1, 2, and try to stretch a little further. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going a little further. So, I mean, you could do something like that as well. But the idea is you're coming out of the stretch, so the muscle relaxes a little bit, and then you're going into it more, and you could get a little further into the stretch. So
absolutely,
and that was my initial reaction, that I felt that worked best. But I did actually do some searching on the internet to see what other therapists and trainers were using for Parkinson's, and there was a piece where the person said that active isolated stretching was best for rigidity.
Yeah, it's you have to do what works best for us as individuals. It's amazing what can happen though with just a little bit of stretching, a little bit of movement, how we feel. I've been doing more of the animal flow stuff this past weekend, which is just yesterday. I really, and I don't get complicated. Like, I'm not doing the scorpion or whatever that thing is yet. I'm just doing the crab to the under switch to being on all fours and the bear crawl, the knees off the floor, and then back, and start going just going in one direction and then come back in the other direction. So I'm face down on a bear crawl, then I switch a foot under, bring an arm around, and boom, I'm in the crab to all fours, face down, bear crawl position. It just feels good. And rolling, I mean, it's silly, right? But rolling, the quadrant rolls, I can't do every quadrant both directions, but it just feels good. When I get done, it only takes me 10 minutes maybe, and it feels so much better. But that's what I like. That's something I like. I like a few things, and that's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, even if you didn't know the specific animal flow exercises, even just getting down on the floor, rolling around on the floor, and getting up, and just that whole process moves like a lot of muscles, crawling.
Absolutely, yeah. I think what I'm going to do is, okay, Jane, I'll be in touch. Thanks for coming. So I was thinking, I was thinking, wonder what it was I was thinking. Russ, go ahead.
I'm still
I
talking about.
forgot already.
I guess I'll stay on. We don't have that much more time, so maybe I'll stay on rigidity. See if there's anything else.
Yeah,
we
let's
can
do that. Yeah,
talk
we
about
should
that.
probably finish up by maybe 11:05 or so.
I mean, rigidity does affect how. Certainly is going to affect how you move with that limited range of motion and all that stiffness, especially if you have it in your back. You could be pinching on nerves. So it's important to get loose. And as far as like muscle release and those kind of things, I think different people respond differently. So I don't know that I could say any one type of thing in that area is helpful. I'm starting to lean more towards gentle, like I'm talking about like massage now. I'm starting to lean more towards gentle stimulation to kind of relax my body, because I think if you have rigidity, which is like this extreme, this is my own theory and how I feel and react. You have that extreme muscle tightness, your muscles are jacked up already. If you kind of like hammer away with like a real hard massage and everything on top of that, my body's general reaction is not that great to that. I feel like I benefit sometimes more from more gentle massage and gentle mobility and manipulation. I'd like to explore more the I've only had it done once. The cranial type of massage.
Yeah.
The what's it called? I'm drawing a blank, but it's got
Actually,
the word
don't know. Yeah. I know who would know is Mirabai. Mirabai in Arizona would know. I actually owe her a call. D Oakley's with us. Hey D, what up? How's everything south of London? And how are you feeling these days? Roberto Silva Aguilar. Welcome. Bienvenido. You know, what I was thinking, Russ, is a couple things. I know what I was thinking before that I forgot.
Craniosacral massage. I just came to me.
Yes. Yeah, I think that Mirabai does that stuff. Mirabai Fairlight. I'm going to ask her. She and I need to talk anyways. So I think one of the things I'm going to do is probably relocate for some episodes downstairs where I have room so I can demonstrate a few things, bring my lights down and all that stuff. But one of the things that I really enjoy, and I'm also doing the past few days, is the fall matrix, the 12 trips down and up. You got the 4, 4, and 4. There are some people I work with who are doing it too, and some can only do it just the first 4. And we'll talk about that another time. But it's just getting on the floor and back up to standing position. That's not a bad exercise, and it helps to get the heart rate elevated a little bit. It's pretty cool. I enjoy that one.
Back on the one more thing on the rigidity, though, I'm not totally poo-pooing any like massage or myofascial release. I do want to go through some self-myofascial release. We went through the calf muscle, and so in the future to go through that more, because there's definitely value in there. If you have a big knot somewhere, you want to try that.
There is.
It's
not bunk. It is highly relevant. If you have an issue, it's definitely relevant.
I was more referring, that's kind of targeted. I was more referring to just going, crazy, like with really heavy, either self-release or massage. It could be a little bit too much. Gently, rolling around on the foam roller is good for, just stimulating the muscles and getting the blood circulating. It's not going to do anything really to release big knots or trigger points, but there's value in that too, especially I like the one where you roll on you roll back and forth on your upper back. That loosens things up nicely.
Yeah, and that's a great thoracic mobilizer.
We'll cover different areas of the body, I think, and then
yeah, we could.
There's so much to cover.
There is even just the concepts here. There's so many things to talk about concept wise, and then benefits of various things. So Another thing that I found very helpful, and I was totally anti-melt method years ago. And the reason I was anti-melt is I figured that a soft foam roller just can't be good. But it's not fake news, folks. It's real news that it can be good. And it's not even so much for myofascial release. In fact, it's more so for fascial fluid flow. Say that 5 times fast. Fascial fluid flow, fascial fluid flow. But when you think about it, first of all, if you look at Susie Heisman, I think her name is Heisman. If you look at her book and you look at the endorsements, there are 2 primary: Robert Schleip and Tom Myers, anatomy trains and the fascial guru of Europe. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. If they're saying this is good, then I can't just, because I didn't even want to hear about it. But there are benefits to that, and I don't know a lot about it. But if anyone does know, and if they're interested in learning more, we can maybe bring in a guest. I would, it would take me a long time to learn it and then teach it. I would rather just bring in an expert as a guest, possibly, because that's really good. The fascial fluid dynamics need to be flowing, just as the lymphatic system needs to flow. And when you have blockages in either of those, it's no bueno. And it usually will cause pain and inflammation, which will cause pain.
I have one way of addressing both. Here's one of my devices, homemade.
On the
This is a PVC pipe.
Oh yeah.
Hard as a rock. It's a little dirty now, but I put athletic tape over it. I have to redo that, but
yeah,
it's not a soft roller. It's just the opposite. It's hard as hell, but when you roll through that, you really feel it really needs the muscles really strongly.
Yeah,
it works.
And again, the hard roller or the hard, like the ball, like I have this from rock tape. Oh, I get the other one too here. Remember, I have to take these to my clients. In fact, this is a small roller, but it's soft. Well, not real soft, but it's not real hard like PVC. This ball is very hard.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, it's going to be really good for you want to use a harder as you can tolerate, not pain for the sake of pain, but discomfort is the appropriate word. Discomfort, tolerably. You'll want a harder surface, maybe a smaller release tool to get deeper into the tissue. Pain receptors don't like pain for the sake of pain is bad. But sometimes you need that hard thing to work out the knot. That is completely relevant and important.
And while we're on the topic of tools, there's this.
Yes. I love that thing, man. Those things are awesome.
Like, what the heck is that? This is called the Theracane.
Yeah, it's
what
great.
This is great for is just reaching like hard to reach spots. Is especially good for like shoulder blade, and it has these different areas that you can grip onto.
That is nice.
And you can pull on different spots. So it works really well for me in the spot between my my shoulder blade and my spine.
Yeah.
I work on that, and then sometimes I do a little quick rotate, and I get a little crack of the back and everything. It's called a Theracane.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. This actually saved me when I went to a 5K race. It was in the winter. I'm going to hop out of my car. I'm getting out of my car to go over and pick up my bib, and I forgot something in the car, and I bent over and reached into the car, and something went out in my back. It was like my back went out on me. And I was like, when something like that happens, like, no way I'm going to run. So I said, okay, let me just go get my number. I come back to the car, and I had this thing with me. So first thing I did was I had the heated seats in the car. I sat in the car with the heated seats on as high as it went. So I used that kind of like for a heating pad. And then I worked on the spot on my lower back with this thing. And then I did a little, and I heard a crack. And all of a sudden the pain was almost gone. All I had was like a little residual pain in my the bottom of my spine, just like a little on the coccyx area, right at the bottom.
Yeah.
But then I would, walked around and I was like, I think I could do this. I think I could run. I ran it. Yeah, I ran and it started and it loosened up and I was fine. But before that, like my back was like out on me and just this, because the muscles just kind of I guess, tightened up and was pulling my spine in a certain direction. And just this thing, this
That's
little
yeah,
knob
those things are
here,
really nice.
amazing.
Yeah, I had lower spine coccyx area too. It was really painful, and it came from the chair I was sitting on up here doing interviews and stuff like that. So I've got my office chair, which is adjustable and comfy, and now my I'm feeling a lot better. So we should finish up in a second. So just recapping a couple things. Remember, folks, hyper focus when you're trying to learn something. Short bouts of hyper focus are going to help you to learn the thing, do the activity you're trying to do. And then, sleep is where the neural pathways are created in neuroplasticity when we're over the age of 25. Find what works for you. We have a lot of stuff in the future to go over. I mean, we're just talking today mostly about things and not demonstrating that much, but we will have demonstrations coming up in each show. And so find the stretches that are best for you, and we'll help you with this too. We can, be sure to let us know in comments what it is that you need. Remember, the Parkinson's, we're dealing many times, not all the time, with rigidity. Double whammy. Could be stiff and rigid, and it's like, man, I really need this isolated active stretching or whatever stretching works for you. So if you have a topic you want us to cover, inbox me, inbox Russ, tell us, and he and I'll coordinate and go over it. Put comments in this. I read every comment. Maybe not while we're on the air, but afterwards. Yes. And keep thinking and challenging yourself cognitively, and keep moving, because that's good for your body, good for the brain, to get blood and oxygen to the brain and all the neuromodulators and neurochemicals that are created when you move. It could just be walking briskly. Do it. And if you want to join me in my quest, well, I really, really wanted to get down to 210 pounds. That's 21 pounds I need to lose. I'd love to do it by my 60th birthday, which is on June 5th. Then go to the Walking Your Way to Health post I put up earlier today with a live video. Click on the link, ask to join the group. I'll let you in. You do anything you want. You can post and encourage us and share what you did if you want. Or you don't have to post anything, but you might feel inspired to move, because once you get moving, you probably get the energy to keep going. This is true. It's not fake news. So today's the day. It's March 1st. Ice is going to be melting. Snow is going to be melting. We'll get more snow. Yeah, of course. It's going to be colder for a while, of course, but it's starting to get warmer overall. Next month, it's going to be warmer. The next month, that's going to be warmer. So I'm on a mission. 210 by June 5th, 21 pounds to go. I know how to do it. I do way better with the teamwork, though, man. I do better if somebody says, I'm going to kick your butt, Karl. You better do this, Karl. I'll do it, but I want you to help me, and I will help you. Just so you know, I will help you. So Walking Your Way to Health is the name of the group on Facebook. Russ?
Yeah, it's always good to join some sort of group where you get some help from friends, accountability. Not only that, but tips. Like as I was mentioning, a lot of times people have problems and they keep doing the same thing over and over again, and they keep having pain or movement problems. So you might need some suggestions from some other people on how to get around those problems. Because if you're doing the same thing over and over again, it's probably a problem that's not in the area you think it is in.
Very possibly, and maybe even probably. So any last words of wisdom or anything, Russ? Any poems for us today?
I got lots of poems. I don't have one pulled up right now.
No, that's fine, but even your themes. So why don't we, I don't mean to cut you off if you have anything you want to share, Russ. Anything else you want to share?
No, we could close out and then pick it up. Like I said, we were gonna start focusing maybe a little bit more on some corrective exercise, get back to
Yeah.
moving up from the bottom up. So maybe we'll finish up the calf area.
Yeah,
And,
let's do that. Let's do
also
that
talk
Thursday.
about common things, like the common, like forward posture.
Yeah.
Maybe down the line we could do a whole thing where we'll go through the whole sequence of releasing releasing and stretching the lats and strengthening the glutes and stretching the hips. The common stuff that
Yeah,
usually
definitely.
fixes forward posture and stuff.
And I'll be relocating to my workout area downstairs, which is my office. This is my Zoom room, my daughter's old bedroom. So anyways, yeah,
I have one
let's do
thought
that.
on mindful movement. We talk a little bit about mindful movement, but a lot of times, sometimes the solution to these issues is including in that mindful movement and taking a movement. If you can't do it, either slow it down or be more conscious of what the deficit is. So I've used that a lot with bradykinesia, the slow movement.
Mhm.
And basically the concept there is to counteract that is, bradykinesia slow movements. So you want to try to focus on fast movements, but you also want to be mindful of how your body goes through a sequence of motions. And I've done some daily tasks of living better through mindful movement, like putting on a jacket. I would get, with the bradykinesia, I would get stuck because I would let the slowness happen, and I would just start putting the sleeve on, and then you get stuck, and your jacket is all twisted.
Sure.
So then I learned to focus on the point where I really need to go in and move that hand through the sleeve, and through focused movement, I'm able to overcome that. So maybe that's something, a takeaway you could take away from this is think about the things, the movement problems you have, and possible ways that you could counteract them. If it's slow movement, using fast movement, or if it's difficult movement, breaking down the movement into smaller pieces, things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we have lots to talk about. Okay. Some tail end shameful promotion. If you go to parkinsonsregenerationtraining.com, you can get my book. It's a big book. It's almost 500 pages. We have a lot of experts who wrote for it, and people with PD in this column are the experts. Russ is one of them. This are the PD fighters' stories, and Russ is one of them. So we have neurologists, movement experts, doctors, medical people, people with Parkinson's. Probably 80% of the book I wrote, and it's all about disease intervention, slowing it down, slowing disease progression, likely and hopefully, and managing disease symptoms, reducing fall risk, improving quality of life. $28.50. And also when you buy it through my site, you get a copy of my CD with it, which I put out last year. And if you want it in Spanish, well, it's available in Espanol. You just need to inbox me for that. Laura is my distributor for the Spanish version if you're Mexico, South America, Latin America. Otherwise, it's available on Amazon in Spanish in a few countries: Spain, United States, Canada, but not Mexico. Don't know why. That's why Laura's my distributor. So, there's a lot of stuff there, folks. And it also comes with a free support website, which I'm adding more material to this week. So,
Cool.
All right. Well, hey,
I
thanks.
I do have a quick poem that
Oh, good.
I wanted to recite because I have some milestones coming up. So I'm sharing some of my own milestones. One is I'm right at about 5 years since diagnosis. And the other one is I'm turning 65. So I'm also just renewed my personal training certification. So I'll be hitting 10 years as a certified trainer soon.
Awesome.
And I wanted to share something with you, and it's got a curse word in it. Sorry, not a real bad one, but but it's just kind of like my attitude on this whole fight since I've coming upon my 5-year anniversary. I know it doesn't get any easier, so I could continue to fight, and I hope you all will too. So it's called Never Quit. I've seen the darkness. I've seen the light. Now it's time to stand and fight. This disease will try to break my spirit, but I say no, I just won't hear it. It won't be easy, I know for sure. Nothing is certain and there is no cure. Family, friends, and hope are on my side. I love my life and I'll enjoy the ride. I won't stop quitting. I won't stop fighting. I'll never quit. I'll kick some butt and I ain't taking no shit.
I love that, man. That's great. Thank
So,
you. Yeah, that's a good. You come up with some. They're good.
sorry
They're
if that curse word was too much. I don't think it
Mhm.
was a heavy duty
It's-
curse word.
I don't think so either. Hey, thanks everyone for watching. But before that, do you have the theme song? Can you play that
Yeah.
again? Russ put together a theme song. Check it out. Listen to this and come back Thursday at 10 o'clock this week. Same bat channel, same bat time, 10 o'clock Eastern time, episode 8.
Okay, signing off with the theme song.
You got it, folks.
We're Neuro Bros, we got a show. We like to share what we know to help you move and be more stable. Got a question, put it on the table. Let's have some fun and keep on learning so we can keep the fire burning. So enjoy the show, take it in. We thank you all for joining in.
I love that. All right, man. Thanks, Russ.
All right,
I'll
thank
talk
you
to
all
you
for
soon and
joining
we'll
in.
plan out Thursday's
Yeah.
show. And thanks everyone for watching. This is always fun and informative and makes me feel motivated to do stuff.
Adios.
All right. I'll catch you all later. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.